Well, if there's two things we can take from this week, it would be that we had a nice, steady, breezy pace that felt somewhat chaotic in the way it was moving around, and almost as if everybody on the team just forgot that there was 12 episodes this season, and we spent most of it in the mud and talking.
There's a TAC Corvette coming in this week, looking for scrap. I'm told there's a rack of Imperial targeting units someone might forget to strip out.
And talking.
Good news, is it?
I'm afraid not. I wish to lodge a charge against a fellow supervisor.
And talking.
This is a boot to the throats of all Gormans, who've done nothing more than request their basic rights.
Thrilling stuff indeed. The second thing we could take, though, being fee. Good to have everyone here. Welcome back. I know it's been a few days since this released, and I've certainly displayed a little tardiness when it comes to Andor reviews, so let's not waste any time and get straight into the breakdown of this episode, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end. We open up on Andor being put into a ship, which looks a little similar to the First Order dropships, if I'm honest, and he's being sent to a specific one with the destination of Narkina 5, hence the episode title. We then cut to Cyril with his new job, and apparently it's been a little over a month in the timeline at this point since last episode, where he's been obtained by Imperial officers, because he's apparently been sending in requests regarding Andor, and he's still trying to find him, believing that he is a murderer, given the events of the first 3 episodes in the season where everything happened on Ferrex. Miro is demanding to know exactly why he's searching for him, and he reveals that he never got to see Belvan's report and was just forced to sign off on it without acknowledging any of the details written within it, so she thinks that this could be used to her advantage. We then come back to Andor, who is taken to a water-based prison which seems to resemble that of the Raft from Captain America Civil War. We then get back to Miro and Admiral Yularen, which was pointed out to me last week was the new officer involved. I would never have guessed, if I'm perfectly honest. But whatever, we've got Yularen apparently.
Hello there.
Miro informs everyone of the growing rebel efforts, and she's searching for someone known as Axis, which, from my assumption, is that they're looking for Luthen. Then we get what I could only assume is just a little insight of indulgence and pleasure from the writers or directors, producers, whoever it may be that allowed this to happen, but we've got a sizable amount of foot porn. Should we be concerned for the amount of feet we're seeing in this one? We then cut back to Miro, who informs Cyril that she's proceeding with the investigation but doesn't want him to be involved, and if he calls upon the Empire anymore, he will be dealt with as a prisoner, and she'll return him to his job with acknowledgements from the Empire to a public duty and service, and he doesn't take this too kindly, but ultimately it ends with him agreeing somewhat and seemingly like he's just going to carry on at the sidelines on his own. We then come back to the prison where Andor is being escorted through by the guards, and the guards seem to be about as useful as a fucking spoon in a snowstorm. The whole scene of witnessing the guards fumbling around for a second, trying to figure out where one guard was, for me at least, seemed ultimately pointless. It was just to convey that the officers actually have little to do there, as we then cut to a surprising appearance in this series from Andy Serkis. That's right, Gollum. Who's playing a character called Kino Loy, and he runs the room of prisoners that Andor has been assigned to. And then we get a complete rundown of how everything operates in the room. Andor and everyone else is expected to work a 12-hour shift. The productivity is encouraged, the evaluations are constant.
Every little helps.
And you're basically out for yourself. And Kino reveals that he has 249 days left on his near-perfect record of distribution, so don't fuck it up. We then catch up with Mon Mothma, and her friend Tay returns. She wants to collect votes to stop the Emperor's latest plans for the galaxy, but is failing to do so, and the husband seems a little perturbed by Tay's appearance, and again, something seems up with the daughter. She might just be angsty, but I really don't give a shit. We then cut back to Andor. His situation seems to be working under pressures every day to survive. The guards are only there to pick up the bodies, as he's informed by another prisoner, and he's shown his room, basically, and he kind of has everything in there, which, is a gamer's dream as far as I'm concerned.
Nice.
At this point in the episode, I'm genuinely starting to feel like the characters are just constantly talking, but nothing's making sense. We're given information after information, but in a lot of the instances with little context and really time to understand it. We then cut to 30 days or 30 shifts later with Andor, and he certainly seems to be in the rhythm of things now. We then jump back to Ferrex, so we're truly being given everyone this episode. Bix is with Marva, who seems to be becoming more frail and ill as the days go by. She's been supporting rebel movement on Ferrex, and it's seemingly coming at a cost to her body. Bix and Brasso want to do a little more for her, but she's refusing support. We then catch up with Val and Cinta, who I did not realise were a couple, but they are still seemingly tracking down Andor, but right now are on Ferrex and just keeping an eye on Bix and Brasso. We then cut to Luthen as we're closing out this episode, and I think this is the first time we've received everybody in the same episode, so, fair job. His assistant Claire is chiming into the radio that they have in the back, and points out to Luthen that Bix is trying to get in contact to find out where Andor is, and Luthen wants to respond, but Claire convinces him that, look, it's dangerous right now given the Imperial presence surrounding his store, and obviously all the interactions going on so far between the rebels and the Empire could draw him under fire. He then leaves for Coruscant towards a planet called Segra Milo, and possibly trying to find Cassian at this point was what I assumed, but it turns out we got Saw Gerrera.
Nice.
Certainly a welcomed reintroduction, and for me at least a much needed jolt of adrenaline for this series. But they discuss ideologies, they trade back and forth for a little bit. Luthen wants to hire Saw to create some destruction and madness for the Empire, get them pissed off, and Saw shoots him down. That's pretty much it. And then the final moments of this episode, we are witnessing what's happening with Bix, and she gets hunted down by the Empire and is brought in for questioning. After making the communications to Coruscant, they seem to have picked up on it, and they caught the shop owner Pack, beat the shit out of him, and now it's her turn apparently. Again, this episode is torture porn.
Let's have sex.
So that was the breakdown for this week's episode. Those were the sort of highlights, the bigger moments of the episode that you need to know. Overall, this episode was rather odd in terms of pace and direction. It's clear we're moving forward with the story, certainly more than in recent weeks, but there's no real clarity when it comes to the wider goal of this series. And maybe this is for the simple fact that we already know where this series is ending, but even in a show like this, that does have a cut-off point, it would just be nice to feel like we're walking towards something rather than just jumping through the motions week to week. Where something like Star Wars Rebels differs from this, for example, is that even though we're moving around a lot and involved in seemingly unconnected events, every season at least brought a lot of the pieces together, and you could see a lot of the setup and where we were headed before we'd even reached the halfway point. We're over halfway with Andor right now, and the ending doesn't seem clear. Other than we're collecting people and seeing disgruntled officers living day-to-day lives, with more realistic aspects thrown in to help audiences connect with them. Thrilling stuff indeed. I've gone on record throughout the series to praise it for the more moody and grounded nature to it. Even with how quick this one went by though, this series feels like it's stifled and it's slowed down. It feels like the show is starting to unravel and not in the way that audiences deserve. Andor so far has certainly held itself against the likes of Obi-Wan and the Book of Boba Fett with competent story writing, realistic dialogue, and certainly impressive visuals and cinematography. But at this stage in the game, I was truly hoping we'd see something that would engage audiences more than it has. which Disney sorely needs right now, as Andor's been falling to the wayside every week and the viewership has been the lowest for any Star Wars project so far on Disney+. Even this week, having its ass kicked by Tales of the Jedi, which strikingly had more direction in one story with Dooku, explained in less time than it took for one episode of Andor to explain what the hell it even wanted to do with itself. In my opinion, these episodes don't need to be half as long as they are. A good example of getting the point across within Star Wars live action material, for me at least, was Boba Fett's return in The Mandalorian. It was a breezy, fast-paced, direct plot that sought to give audiences a thrill and move the story along to its inevitable end. I don't wish to sound negative or sour on the show, but something's got to change. Disney will risk losing most of its audience, which would be a shame, given the quality of the series so far and that Season 2 is already in production. I'm not looking for shock value tactics or cameos of the week here, just something to really solidify why audiences should be paying attention. The novelty factor is certainly worn off at this point, and pretty much everyone tuned in for Disney Plus this week with a sigh of relief because of Tales of the Jedi. And every week I've tried to find the positives, but at this point I'm sat here wondering why I'm even watching this. I want Star Wars to succeed, particularly after this mess, and 9 times out of 10, for me at least, they hit the mark, but with how Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi were received, this may end up becoming yet another sacrifice of a beloved character this year for the sake of just money. I'll leave it here though for this week. I didn't hate this episode, and I don't want anyone to think that I hate this series, but it felt as though it lost structure and almost like they realised, shit, we've got a third of a season left, let's pick it up, boys. I'm hoping this sudden change of pace will continue though, as it was refreshing, if not a little bit chaotic, so maybe tone it down as we move forward. These are my thoughts though, and I would truly like to hear yours. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought of this week's episode, and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out, and until next time, take care, and may the Force be with you.